everyone, and welcome to another episode of Smite Patch Analysis. So today we're going to be going over the Winter's Bite patch notes, which is patch 3.4. So as you can see on screen here, we have a new god, Skadi, who is the goddess of winter. Now this is a really cool goddess, because she has a wolf by her side, and you can actually use this wolf for like a lot of things, like it'll attack enemies and stuff. And it also has like HP. It has 5 HP points, and they can be taken down by enemy auto attacks and abilities, and then it will regenerate those over time. So one thing I want to know, which wasn't covered in the live stream that Hi-Rez did, I will put a link to that in the description, as well as a link to these patch notes if you want to go and see that. And you can also see obviously the new god's abilities and everything, and one of the devs goes over those as well. So one thing I want to know is, if the wolf gets hit by an auto attack or an ability, does that then block it from hitting you, or will it sort of hit the wolf and then just sort of continue through and then go and hit anything else that it would have hit? Because if you can use it to block auto attacks, then that could be quite an interesting thing to try and sort of position the wolf between you and the enemy so that it will block auto attacks. That'll be sort of another interesting mechanic added to the game. But anyway, I won't really read through any of these because you can sort of there's not really anything I can add by just straight reading them. You're probably better going and having a watch of the patch notes live stream, which, as I said, I'll link in the description if you're interested in seeing all of these in action. So, new god skins, we have an absolute ton of them. Recon Artemis looks absolutely amazing. Most of them look absolutely amazing, to be honest. Again, you can go and see these on the live stream if you want to, and they go through all the abilities and some of the voice packs as well. Recon Artemis looks really good. Hellrider Chiron looks amazing. The woohoo is literally just woo, which is hilarious. He sounds really sarcastic, which is brilliant. We've got a tier 2 skin for Apollo, and also a skin for Rygent. Then we have the recolor for Skadi, and the Chocolate Chuck Easter skin. Now, don't really know what to say about that. His ear's missing. I mean, do we get a part refund for the missing ear? I don't know. So season ticket for 2016 is now going to be released as well. So this is the Bologna skin you will get with that. There are also a load of other rewards and stuff like that that will be added along the way. And great news for this year, we won't have to have the frame in order to earn the fantasy points. We can there's something else you can equip which will earn and track those fantasy points for you, and you can use that in combination with any other frame, so you're not locked into just using that one season ticket frame for the entire season, which is really, really good. So now we've got Sunstar Ra, which is, honestly, this skin looks insane. I think this is going to turn out to be one of my favourite skins in the game. It just looks absolutely amazing, just everything about it. I recommend, if you have just even 30 seconds time free, just go to the live stream in the description and just look at the bit where they show that skin. It looks fantastic. Again, another season ticket skin there. Also, Last Commando Ram, which has a Sylvester Stallone voice pack, which is absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to getting that as well. Then we have the Adjudicator Anubis and the Crimson Ops Bastet. These look sort of like recolors of skins that we've already seen, so a recolor of Stargazer Anubis and a recolor of of the regular Special Ops Bastet. Then we have White Death Loki and Silent Blade Nemesis. They look really cool as well. And then Aurum, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Noir. I'm not a fan of that skin. I don't think it looks that good, but the rest look absolutely insane, especially the Sunstar Ra and the Last Commando Ram. When Last Commando Ram flies into the sky, he actually shoots an RPG at his feet to blast him up into the air, and then shoots an RPG at people for his ultimate, so that looks really cool as well. So then Apollo Mastery skins have received an update. New voice packs obviously go along with that. 2016 season ticket, as I just said, is out. Few things that I haven't mentioned yet that I'm excited about this. The new global emote GG looks really, really cool. You can see people spamming that when they leave just after they've taken Fire Giant or God Fury or whatever. But also, the Hinduman Announcer Pack is brilliant. Hinduman does a little preview clip of it on the live stream, which is brilliant. One of the pentakill announcements, he literally screams, "Mum, get the camera! I got a pentakill." It's brilliant. I recommend you go have a listen of him shouting that. It's hilarious. So new achievements, don't really care about those. Miscellaneous, blah blah blah. Here's the single gameplay change they made for this patch. Now, this might not seem like a lot, but this is a really, really important change that they did, and that's to remove one of the boars from the solo side, which is Fire Giant side, boar camp. Now, solo lane has long been known for being well ahead of the rest of the gods on the team in terms of farm. Like, I think we've seen instances where a solo laner has been at 7 levels ahead of the rest of the team. That's ridiculous. That should never happen because it just throws off the balance of the team fights. You have the solo laner just rotating, and they can just really easily kill anyone on any other lane, and it just sort of it distorts the balance of the game and the flow of the game, and it's just really not good for the competitiveness and everything like that. So that's a really good change to sort of reduce the amount of farm that solo laners are getting. Now, a load of people were like, "Oh no, you're killing jungle even more," because it's no secret that jungle is struggling in terms of XP. There is plenty of gold in the jungle. We're not junglers are not struggling in terms of gold really. It's mainly the XP that is the problem. But this shouldn't really hurt junglers too much because junglers don't tend to help with the boars that much. I mean, if you've ganked solo lane and then there's nothing else to do, you might go and help them take the boars if they're up, but that's not really sort of a crucial part of the jungling route. That's just sort of something you might do if you can. So that's not really going to affect jungle that much, and a lot of people seem to be still doing the really crap start where you go to mana, then to boars on solo lane side, and then go to mid. Do not do that start, and especially not now there's only one boar. That is a terrible start, and it's even worse now. You get to mid lane late, and you don't get to level 2 off doing the 2 camps, and now you're definitely not. So what you should do instead is do what I suggested in my basic jungle guide, which is to go from back camps on solo side to mana buff. Now, if you're a more advanced player and you're confident that you can make the judgment which solo jungle combo is the best, whether your team's solo jungle combo is better than the enemy team's solo jungle combo, if whichever combo is stronger early game, you should be starting at mid camps and then going to your mana camp, and then the weaker 2 gods should start at back camps and go to mana camp. And then that way both junglers manage to get to mid lane on time. They both have a decent amount of farm. Like, there is a slight advantage obviously to the side that had the stronger early game and manages to get those mid camps and then go to mana, but it's just a much better start than going to boars. Boars really shouldn't be done at the start. There's something for the solo lane to pick up whenever, which is obviously why they've removed one of those boars. So, item changes. Glowing Emerald, which I believe is part of the whole healing tree of items. All items in this tree have had their cost reduced by 50. Now I'm going to skip ahead to the Rod of Asclepius here and Rod of Healing. They've had a reduced cost, and the Rod of Asclepius aura has been increased from 15% to 20%. Now this is just a buff to the whole healing set of items in general. Now what they said on the stream, obviously, Weakening Curse, or now I think it's just called Curse now. The relic it's now obviously available for free. It's not like you had to buy it like back when it was inactive for 900 gold. It's now literally free. You can just pick it up at level 1 or level 12. So obviously the anti-healing sort of thing, which is Curse, has been buffed because it's now easier to get on more gods on your team. So that sort of pushed healers down in terms of what they can do. So obviously buffing the healing items allows healers that really want to focus on that healing role to build those items, and then obviously that they can then become a really prominent part of the team as healers when they don't it sort of counteracts the whole fact that Curse is now easier to get hold of. Now skipping ahead to Wind Demon, this has had an increased healing debuff from 3 seconds to 8 seconds. So You might be thinking, well, they just tried to buff healers, but now they're nerfing healers because that. But that's not actually the case. Yes, it's now obviously that debuff is now a lot stronger, but really that's just providing an auto attack based equivalent of Brawler's Beatstick. Brawler's Beatstick is the sort of the anti-healing item that you get on ability based gods. So for example, I was playing Thor in jungle and they had a lot of healing on the enemy team. I'd be like, right, okay, I need to build into a Brawler's Beatstick. Now, in Season 2, Brawler's Beatstick's passive, which reduced healing, used to proc off auto attacks, but in Season 3 that was changed to procking off abilities, which is good because Brawler's Beatstick is a penetration item, so you tend to get it on gods such as Thor that are ability based. It didn't really make sense for that to proc off auto attacks. So Wind Demon is a crit item, so that's obviously going to be built on auto based gods, and it also provides the healing debuff, so that's taken the place of what Brawler's Beatstick was trying to be last season. So I really like this change. It sort of means that if you're an ability based god such as Thor, then you build Brawler's Beatstick to counter healing, and you also if you're someone like Mercury and you're auto based, you would build Wind Demon to counter healing. It sort of balances out everything nicely in the whole healing category. You've got the sort of the curse thing, which is sort of a temporary blocks healing and stuff like that someone like the support or the jungler could get if necessary, usually the support. Whereas you've now got items that healers can build if they really want to be effective at healing, and you've also got items that people can build if they want to stop healing. So there's sort of a whole myriad of options that you can go into building and counter building for and against healing. So that's really sort of added to the game, in my opinion. So now going back to Hydra's Lament, this is not going to be in the first round of PTS as it says there, but the passive effect no longer has a cooldown. So Loki's got a buff, guys! Yay! Hydra's Lament obviously built a lot on Loki because you can use your 1 or your 3 or whatever, then auto attack, and then you get the passive proc from Hydra's Lament. This no longer has a cooldown, so therefore you can just sort of use one of your abilities, auto attack. So you could, for example, Invis Loki, go up, hit the enemy with an auto attack, that's going to do the Hydra's passive, then hit your 3, hit the enemy, that's also going to do your Hydra's passive. So, I don't know, I really like that. It's sort of, Hydra's is an item that just wasn't really used outside of Loki as far as I know, and Loki's not really that strong other than on solo lane when you're crapping on noobs at 2 in the morning because you're drunk. So, I don't know, that's just a really interesting thing. Hopefully it doesn't become too overpowered, I don't think it will, but that's really nice to see. Now, Masamune, however you're supposed to say that, has had the physical power increased from 30 to 50. So as I said on live stream, this item was sort of just, once you built up that tree, there were so many other items that you could go into that were just better DPS wise. It sort of wasn't really worth getting this item, so they increased the physical power to sort of make it more viable. Again, sticking with the whole sort of theme they're trying to do in Season 3, which is really obvious and really good for the game in my opinion, which is to try and provide as wide a range of options for players to build into as possible, and try and make sure there are as many viable items as possible to sort of promote counter building and diversity and sort of specialized builds within the game, which obviously promotes the whole competitive nature of the game. Rage has had the cost reduced from 2,600 to 2,400, so that's going to help out ADCs in the mid game. As they said, that we've been seeing a lot of the whole power curve build, which is the Asai Chin's build, which is focused around attack speed and pen rather than crit, as we saw in Season 2. So now gods like Artemis that really benefit from that crit chance sort of build will now sort of be able to build it. It's going to be a bit more viable for them because the whole issue with that build was it had a bit of a dodgy power curve mid-game. It was just so expensive to start trying to get those crit items online that it wasn't really, you just sort of drop off temporarily while you were trying to save up for those items. So obviously with that cost reduction, it's now going to sort of give them a little boost in that mid game to sort of make that viable, and hopefully improve the sort of the variety of gods that we see played in the hunter role throughout Season 3. So Sanctuary can no longer be activated while casting another ability. That's more of a bug fix than anything else on her. So his Enfeeble now has an increased physical protection debuff it's now been increased from 15 to 20, and his Impale, this is not in the first round of PTS apparently, has had the mana decrease, so a slight buff to on her there, and hopefully again that will sort of increase the number of gods, hopefully bring on her into the sort of the more viable category of the ADC role, and hopefully again we'll see more gods played in the SPL, but time will tell. Bakasura eat minion he was unable to eat the small minions at the blue camp in Conquest. That was just terrible, absolutely terrible, but that's been fixed now, so for all you Bakasura fans, don't worry. So Chuck's ultimate, I believe, Stormcall, has had its cooldown reduced from 90 seconds to 75 seconds, so again, sort of trying to bring as many gods into the whole viable god pool as possible. So Chuck sort of wasn't really played very much, but obviously with this he's now going to be a lot more sort of prominent in team fights. That ultimate's going to be available a lot more often, and hopefully bring him sort of in line with a lot of other, he'd probably played mostly in solo lanes, so bring him in line with a lot of solo laners. Hercules got a buff! Why, Hi-Rez? Why do you do this? Hercules is OP apparently, but apparently not. Here was a really weird thing. They collect data and stuff on the damage that gods do and the amount that they're played, etc, etc, etc. And apparently Hercules was worse than Ratatoskr in certain categories. I don't know whether their data is drunk or whether I just don't know, because I certainly wouldn't have said Hercules was worse than Ratatoskr in any category whatsoever. But apparently that's what the data shows, so unless someone has been fiddling with that data at high res, which to be honest I would believe that, because this really doesn't make any sense. Apparently Hercules isn't that strong, although to be honest, I don't see him get played that much, so I don't know, maybe he isn't performing that well. I don't really play him because I don't really play solo anyway. I should probably learn other roles other than the jungle, but yeah, we'll leave that for another video. But yeah, I don't really play him, so I wouldn't really know, but to be honest, I haven't seen him that much, so maybe this is for the best. So increased base movement speed, increased attack damage. He now has a slightly higher physical power buff, and his 2 has had reduced cooldown. So to be honest, that's not a huge buff. That's sort of just a little tweak to maybe give him an advantage in certain situations. But I guess we will see as time goes on whether that sort of whether we see more Herculeses, however you would say that, plural. I have no idea. In the SPL and in games in general. So Kukulkan, finally Kukulkan gets a buff. Now Kukulkan's a bit of a funny god really, because he's fun. He has a lot of history because of the noodle, good old-fashioned Dao Kwong, for those of you that remember him. But he doesn't really get played at a high level at all. So his 1 has had the increased magical power scaling. They've increased his magical power scaling, from 60% to 75%. So that'll do a lot more damage now, and obviously his Whirlwind has had the mana cost reduced. Hopefully that's going to make it more efficient for clearing lane, make him be able to sustain longer, etc, etc. And sort of just bring him more in line with other mid laners. Guan Yu Conviction has had the cooldown increased from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. I believe that's his heal, which was being very prominent in a competitive play in the early part of Season 3. Ra's passive has had the lifetime increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. That's sort of going to be honest, increase his escape potential, because that's all the escape Ra really has, is the movement speed buff you get from his passive. So with that increased, hopefully it will increase Ra's escape potential. Although having said that, if you've not escaped in 10 seconds, you're probably going to die anyway. So I don't know, maybe that's just I don't really know why they've done that, to be honest. Maybe it's just a whole mobility thing. Ra can be played in the solo lane, or when you come off base it's going to allow you to get back to lane quicker. Raijin has had a bug fixed where Soul Reaver would proc twice. Ram's had a bit of a buff with the increased rate of astral arrow regeneration from 1 arrow every 15 seconds to every 12 seconds, and reduced mana cost on astral strike from 25 to 20 per arrow. So now onto Thanatos. Now his base physical protection has been increased from 11 to 14, and his base attack power from 37 to 39. So they said on the live stream that obviously, like, Thanatos is played as an early game jungler. That's his whole point. That's the whole point of him. Like, there's no secret to the fact that Thanatos' pretty much only use is in the early game. Like, if you don't do well early game as Thanatos, you're literally useless for the entire game, because that's what you're there to do. You're there to try and win the game early and to put the enemy team as far behind as you possibly can. So this buff sort of increases his potency early game and allows him to sort of do that early game killing and putting behind of the enemy a lot better. I'm not sure whether that was the right thing to do, honestly. Maybe. I feel like he's already strong enough early game. I feel like doing a slight buff to his late game, to his scaling, so that he's a bit more viable late game. Obviously, you don't want him to be anywhere near as viable as anywhere near as good late game as other gods, because then he'd be great early game and great late game, and that would just be ridiculously overpowered. But I feel that he's just a bit too weak late game. So obviously, bringing him up late game with some increased scaling may sort of, it'd mean that he can do really well early game and then still do something late game, which might make him a bit more viable in competitive play as opposed to random stomping of noobs at 2 in the morning when you're drunk. I seem to use that phrase a lot, but oh well. So All has had a tooltip error fixed. His exposed weakness buff thingy used to be lost upon switching stances, but last patch they changed it so that he retained the buff over switching stances, so the tooltip has been updated to portray that. So that's pretty much it for the video, guys. As I said, I'll leave a link to these patch notes and also to the live stream that Hi-Rez did in the description. So go look at the live stream if you want to see more of the new god and the new skins and all that cool stuff. But other than that, that's it from me. So leave a like if you liked the video. I hope you did. Subscribe to see more, and yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.